Hello everyone, welcome back. We are starting off in 3-2 in EDF, Insect Armageddon. This level is called Busy Work. Wonder if that's going to be the feeling that I get from. Actually, these Chapter 3 levels, with the exception of the last two, so I guess the first three of them, are actually not too bad. There's a lot of variety, pretty entertaining stuff. So we're just going to go ahead and be blasting through these Hector robots like it's no problem. Unless our teammates make it a problem. So I switched to the level 7 Goat Shriek, which seems to be rather effective, as are most of the level 7 weapons, I suppose. Might as well use this to nuke these guys down, as long as they're surrounded by other enemies and my teammates are far away, because they're ignorant and they don't listen. Now there are actually mechs in the starting area. You can get a mech or a tank, both of which are very helpful for dealing with these guys if you're on a difficulty where you need to worry about dealing with those guys. I also realize that I use the term mech as M-E-C-H. I'm used to seeing it as M-E-K. Need to start breaking that addiction. I've got a Steam backlog that has probably about 60 games that I'm like, I want to get through this. I'm like, what should I do today? How about I sit inside and play Dota for like 4 hours? Yeah, that sounds good. Could be recording more of this, could be playing Hitman, I could be going through To the Moon. Nah, EDF. Or Dota. Either or. Actually, I'm interested in To the Moon. It's a story-based game. The last one I played of that was actually Dear Esther, and I was pleasantly surprised by Dear Esther. Probably because I got it mostly for free. If I paid for it, I would have been a little angry.
Roger that.
Alright, now we get to go and take out some anthills and some bomber spiders. But yeah, what was I saying? Dear Esther. Really interesting, hesitate to call it a game, really interesting experience. It's maybe 2 hours long if you get lost a few times, and if you pay the same cost that you'd be willing to pay for a movie, it's worth it. If you pay more than that, then it's arguable. It has some interesting themes. The visual style for it's actually, it looks really good in some places, and in other places not so much. Like there was a section where you go into a cave and there are some mushrooms, and I was looking at those mushrooms and I'm like, wow, they did a really awesome job on those. They look nice. And I went and I looked at them in further detail, and I realized they used the old Doom trick, where it was a 2D mushroom on a 3D plane that just always faced you. So it gave the illusion of it being circular until you stopped and looked at it. Which is actually a problem with a lot of games now. It's just that there's no... It's not actual detail. They fake the details to make it look more impressive than it really is. Which is starting to become one of my pet peeves now that games are getting a little better. That's kind of what I'm optimistic for with the new generation. Is that we get, instead of graphically scaling, we just processor scale. There's a mod in Skyrim that I played with, and it's called Dat Grass. And I have to say, it is an apt name, because just one look at it, and you're like, oh my gosh, this could easily be the future of open games like this.
Until down,
Nope.
do left.
There goes one of my teammates, because he was standing right in the way. Part of the reason why the Goat Shriek is nice. But the Dat Grass mod, basically it renders, or I'm not going to say renders because it makes it sound like I know what I'm talking about, but instead of being just a grass texture, there are actual grass patches. So I can run the game on the highest setting on my computer at 60 frames per second. If I turn on that mod on whatever the medium setting is, then it runs at like 20. So it's incredibly intensive, but the results are pretty much breathtaking. So if you have Skyrim for the computer, definitely recommend checking that one out. Even if your computer can't really handle it, just being able to see it, even in slow motion, is still, it's not the worst. And actually, one of the things that I was really worried about getting into computer gaming is there's a lot of, hey, you know, you get to do modding and you can add in custom things, and I'm sure EDF seems like it would be a really good opportunity for that, actually. But as far as I know, there's not a mod community. I haven't looked into it, though. Just haven't heard of one before. Alright, mopping up. Yeah, you're getting some interesting weapons. I mean, that's most of what this does. Potentially game-breaking, but that's not to say that it isn't what I'm doing already. The DLC offers a lot of those as well, I believe. I'm not really sure. In the weapon selection screen, there are two different colors of weapons, and one is green and one is white as far as the free stuff goes. So I think that the white ones are ones that I got for getting the Super Special Awesome DLC bundle, but I'm not 100% on that. So some of these, your mileage may vary, but it's like an extra $1 to get the DLC, so do it. Alright, I think that we want to take out these buildings because I'm pretty sure we're going to be dealing with some flight crews, so let's go ahead and take those out. Another good reason to have the Goat Shriek if that is what I'm thinking of, which I'm pretty sure. It's been a while since I've done these chapters. I like saving, well, I like saving them for when I have to deal with them. And yes, okay, I recognize the setting, so we are going to be dealing with a bunch of those little flying ships. So as long as we can take them out before they even have a chance, we should be good. And we've got some extra supplies here, so I'll pick up some of those just to get to full. Yeah.
Roger that.
So this is where the multi-lock is going to be incredibly nice. So just to keep on going on my thoughts on modding, I've done a lot with New Vegas, and I've done a lot with Skyrim, and then I think that might be it. I want to say that there were some other games that I did, but those were the big two. And the thing about Steam and mods is that it's amazing. For Skyrim, it uses Steamworks, and I had no idea what that was before. It's not really talked about or that well explained, I think, in gaming media. So I'm like, oh, okay, it's just all of the mods. I went through on Fallout and did them all through an external client, I guess. I'm not exactly sure what it'd be referred to. But basically a mod manager that tells you, okay, you've downloaded these, you can run these, this is the order that you want to load them, all that kind of stuff. And you had to go to websites, download files, delete files from your computer in order to do it. Or it's like, yeah, get rid of this pack and then put this here, and it all comes across as text files and EXEs. It's like, oh yeah, I totally trust all the EXE files you want to throw at me. Just download all of them, run them, don't even do a virus scan. So as soon as I started using, this is important, this building, don't blow it up. This is a tactical building. It helps a lot to leave it standing, so I'm going to blow it up with this thing in like 2 seconds, but I'll try and lead the shot. It separates two anthills, so you definitely want to leave the building standing for at least until you blow up the anthills, which I think now we've got a pretty good shot of doing that. But yeah, Steamworks, what that does, for anyone who doesn't know, is it basically acts as the mod manager within Steam. So the entire process. So, okay, so with New Vegas, I had to go to this website, I had to find the mod that I wanted to download, I had to go to the page, I had to download the files, save it to the location that it told me to, or to a location of my choice, delete what it said to, you know, things like that. So it was a process is what I'm getting to. The Steamworks, splitting my attention now. It's a little bit tricky, but there's basically nothing to talk about as far as this game goes. But with Steamworks, instead, all you do is you go through Steam, and you click on Steamworks, and it goes, okay, here are all the mods for that game, and you subscribe to the mod. And what subscribing does is it downloads it through the Steam client to the folder that it needs to go to, and will automatically put it in the game the next time it starts up. Now, some games like Skyrim, they still have the mod managers, like, before you start, which also includes all the DLC stuff. So you still do have to go through that. And here we get introduced again to our old friend, the Mega Hector. And of course we lose our two teammates in the first 5 seconds, and he's firing his laser. There we go. So yeah, basically it just takes all the hassle out of modding the game, enough to the point where basically anyone can do it. And I say that speaking from the perspective of a guy who knew very little about all this going into it. When I first built my computer, this has actually been my first one, and I was pretty impressed with myself through the process. Nothing broke. I had a power cable that started to overheat, but I was able to just buy it. I thought it might have been the power supply, because I spent like $20 on it, and it's not gold or silver rated or anything like that. It was just cheap. But yeah, the actual cable going from the computer to the out was getting incredibly hot, like too hot to touch without, almost felt like I was going to burn myself. So I was like, that needs to change. So I was able to actually just swap out that specific cable that was faulty, and then it works fine. But yeah, basically, no idea what I was doing as far as modding, no idea as far as building the computer. It's not really technical skill, it's just patience and research. Like, you don't have to know specifically what each thing means, you just have to figure out what it's telling you, which part fits into which other part. So, anyway, that exhausts my talk of modding stuff, so now I guess we're just dealing with this Hector, which is trying to get to a position where I can actually get shots into the weak point, which is a bit of a challenge.
Head to the rally point and take
And
fire
because
right
we're
now.
dealing
I've
with
got intel on the
really good
secure
weapons
channel.
against really
I'll
weak
get back to you
enemies,
ASAP.
not a challenge. So we'll go ahead, pick up this weapon crate. New one. Oh wait, armor boost. New one. Yeah! Actually got one. That's awesome. It's been a while. Alright, and then here is our checkpoint. That will end the level. So, as usual, just kind of troll your teammates a bit. There we go. And they had 3 deaths. What losers! God. So we actually picked up a new rocket launcher for the jet. That's actually exciting. We may actually get to check that out next time on EDF.